Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. You are listening to PodCRASH, and this is a very special edition of the show. Of course, I say that every time. What makes this special? I'm going to be telling you about a couple interesting run-ins I had with the FBI through a show called Storyworthy. But before we get to that, I know a lot of people are concerned about the FBI's monitoring of social media. There was a case this last week where two British tourists were actually questioned, taken off of their flight as they arrived to the United States, questioned, and then returned back to their homeland of merry old England after they had tweeted some things about destroying America. And by destroy, they meant just get really plastered and drunk. I just wonder if the folks at the FBI actually thought to maybe go back into the timeline of these people and actually see, are they Al-Qaeda? And if you see the entirety of someone's timeline as some representation of who they are on the internet, are these people really terrorists? It just sounds like they like to have fun and drink. And the thing that also bothers me about this story is not just the fact that how these people were treated when they came here, but the fact that our government has time to waste reading people's tweets and responding to them. And I know that there's been some discussion of FBI's monitoring of Facebook. And I guess I would just advise you and tell you what I do, and you feel free to do this. Just lie. I lie, or I'm giving you a something of a representation of my real life, but my real private life is something that I only really talk about on this podcast. And is the FBI really going to have time to listen to this? They'll read a tweet or two, but are they going to listen to this full hour or so show today? Probably not. I'm also in overwhelm mode because recently learned that I'll be doing a panel at WonderCon in Anaheim, California on Saturday, March 17th at 7 p.m. in the evening, where I'll be presenting some new projects that I'm working on, some of which I have talked about and some I have not. So that's going to be a very interesting WonderCon. And WonderCon, a lot of you are scratching your heads. WonderCon normally took place in San Francisco, but because they're doing construction on the convention center there, WonderCon will be in Anaheim, California for just this 1 year. So I think it's lucky that we get to experience that. It's just a quick drive down south for me and all the folks that'll be on that panel. Also have some upcoming stand-up dates, but I'm not going to bug you because that's ways off. But you know what? You know what I want to tell you about? Our show is on Stitcher. That's right. You can listen on your iPhone, Android phone, BlackBerry, web phone, whatever you got. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. And I've been doing this plug since early in the show, since maybe the second or third show about Stitcher, because we're available on there. But if you're already listening and you're hearing this plug about Stitcher, I don't understand why I need to tell you this. You already know that Stitcher exists because you're listening to this, maybe on Stitcher, maybe you're listening to it on iTunes. So you're already doing this. Secondly, what do I get out of this? I'm not getting any advertising kickback from them. I'm just telling you about Stitcher, which is another way to listen to the show. I don't understand the point of this. Maybe we got to stop with this Stitcher plug. But I do have a plug. It is absolutely cold. A lot of places in the area. It gets cold here in Los Angeles. But you know what keeps me warm? Spirit hoods. It's a fashionable hood which comes with a little scarf and a place to put your hands, like a little mitten type thing. And they're so cute. They come in all sorts of styles. Especially girls look really good in these. I'll tell you something. All sorts of styles. Brown bear, red fox, skunk, panda, gray wolf, red wolf, snow leopard. If you go to spirithoods.com, enter the offer code PodCRASH, you'll get 15% off your order. I like the gray wolf because I like that film, The Gray. And I do want to thank spirithoods.com for stepping up and becoming a sponsor of PodCRASH here. We need all the sponsors we can get because I have not found out the secret to actually making money with this podcast. Not that should actually be a goal, but I wanted to at least pay for the microphones and the software and whatnot that I've had to buy to present this to you and give it away for free. which I will continue to do, of course. In fact, what's funny is something that actually none of you get to hear. Whenever I go on any podcast, at the beginning, before we've even started recording, I just ask, what do you guys use to record your podcast? What do you are you making any money with advertising? Just as a way to kind of, from one peer to another, find out what's, how people are making a go of it in the realm of, in the world of podcasts. And I'm sure that actually that would make an interesting podcast down the line, maybe on our 1 year anniversary. I'd also like to throw in little interesting information. Super Bowl's this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I am a football fan, and I actually did Crash, a football podcast. And that episode will go up because I actually made my Super Bowl predictions on this football podcast. But that podcast will go up the night of the Super Bowl. So after the Super Bowl, I'll probably be recording from my Super Bowl party. That's where because how am I going to know? I'm going to have to do it right there. So I'll record the wraparounds and whatnot for that show, and that'll go up the night of the Super Bowl, which is, for me, it's like a national holiday. It's a national holiday when the Super Bowl is on, and I can't wait for that. It's even though I have no dog in this fight, I really don't care. What I hope for is a good game. So good game and some good commercials. I can't wait to see that Avengers commercial. That looks amazing. I think it's going to be incredible. But let's get to this week's Crash. I was on a show called Storyworthy with Christine Blackburn and Phinney. And Storyworthy is a show. First of all, I feel honored to be on it, on Storyworthy. It's a show that invites all sorts of types of people on the show, from writers, artists, actors, just creative types in the entertainment industry, and they request that you write a story that takes about 5 minutes to read. And you come with this story that's written, so I had to write this story in advance. Yeah, it's a couple thousand words. I timed it out. It wasn't quite, maybe 1,500 words. And I brought my story. They ask you to read the story, and then you discuss that story. And the premise of the show is that everybody's got a story, and I really like this. And it's the tone of the show also is fun. I mean, Christine and Haynes are really funny. I mean, they're entertainers in their own right. I mean, Haynes does stand-up comedy. Christine's an actress, so they're really entertaining. And it was a blast to just be on that show, because it's kind of like NPR, but you can say fuck. So I thought that was great. It's sort of the reverence of NPR, but you can throw a curse word in there, which is perfect for me, because at some point, I don't know when it's going to be, there might be an episode of PodCRASH that I don't have to put the explicit rating on. I don't know when that's going to be. I think it's going to be a while. But really happy with my appearance here on Storyworthy, because I was able to discuss my run-ins with the FBI. It's weird. It's like if I told you this story, it almost starts like a joke. My run-in with the FBI that involves Charlie Sheen and a snuff film and John Hinckley.
Welcome to Storyworthy. I am Christine Blackburn, and I'm here with
Phinney, and we're coming to you from the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Investigation at 935 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest in Washington, D.C.
That would be the FBI, if
The
anybody's
FBI.
wanting to shorten what you just said.
I like to, when people smoked and drank on TV, that was a better time.
I know, I believe that. All right, you guys. Chris, like I said, movie geek. He is also a full-fledged nerd. See, he wrote these words, and I don't know his words.
It's pronounced nerdlebrity.
Nerdlebrity. I know this. I know this. You find him over at a website. It's called, ready? Wait for it, chrisgore.com.
Yes, I'm there right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, put your hands together for Chris Gore.
Thank you. As a teenager filled with passion, pointless arrogance, and no publishing experience, I learned everything on the job. My underground magazine, Film Threat, was a project I undertook right out of high school, and I was determined to make the zine an important voice in the discussion of movies. And by important voice, I meant a loud one, of course. One idea to get attention that sounded pretty good at the time was asking a former presidential assassin to review movies for my up-and-coming magazine. Having made friends with fringe film writers all over the country, I discovered one named Jack Stevenson, who was buds with John Hinckley Jr. Yes, the John Hinckley Jr., the man who, unsuccessfully attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan. But more importantly to me, he was a movie guy, as he was inspired to action by one of my favorite films, Taxi Driver. Some people are inspired to start a movie magazine, others try to kill presidents, but we both had in common a passion for great cinema. I asked John if he would review Taxi Driver. I thought it would be nice to get his thoughts about the film. And I know he was trying to impress a girl with his plan. I mean, aren't we all? Maybe Jodie Foster would read my magazine. I could impress her myself, and without jail time. The review arrived in the form of a letter, and it was a disappointment. It was not the review of Taxi Driver that I'd hoped for, but I'll read it to you anyway. After some pleasantries, which was nice, John said, "As for the film review, I don't think I can do it. I haven't seen an entire movie since I've been locked up. Taxi Driver sucks, and I don't want to write about that." Success! He gave his opinion. Hinckley went on to say, "By the way, send me Manson's address if you have it. Squeaky Fromm wrote to me." There must be some very small group of presidential assassins and jail-bound celebrities who feel some sort of kinship. Hinckley ended his letter by saying, "Do good, be good, look good, and shit good. You'll live a long and healthy life. Regards, John Hinckley." Well, it wasn't what I hoped for, but he did say Taxi Driver sucks. That was enough for me, and I published the letter with a snipe on the cover of Film Threat, which read, "John Hinckley reviews Taxi Driver." The quote from Hinckley received national attention, but my magazine did not. In fact, each article that mentioned the Hinckley quote seemed to go out of their way to avoid mentioning the source. I was a very early anti-mainstream media advocate as a result. And worse, Film Threat magazine and myself then got the attention of the FBI. The magazine and I were added to a watch list, which I guess is something that might happen when you correspond with a presidential assassin, although I did take comfort in knowing that some FBI agent somewhere was getting an education in alternative cinema. This would be my first, but not last, run-in with the FBI. The second was after I moved to Los Angeles and met Charlie Sheen. Charlie had just finished up working on a film called The Chase, and I met the young director Adam Rifkin. Adam, like me, was into strange alternative films like Legend of the Overfiend, and so was Charlie. After borrowing several gems from my collection, I found myself a kind of dealer of bootleg VHS oddities for Charlie Sheen to enjoy. But one film shocked Sheen to the core. It was a Japanese horror film called Guinea Pig, in which a woman is led to a room, murdered, and dissected, effectively autopsied alive. It's not something I personally liked. I'm not one for gore, even though that's my last name, but it was fake. Anyone with the knowledge of special effects could tell it was fake, but not Charlie. He thought he had seen an actual snuff film, and he reported it to the FBI. In fact, he turned over his copy of the tape to an agent and gave him my phone number. I waited by the phone for an interview with the FBI, who were merely looking to confirm some facts about this snuff film. I was told to turn over my original and then the source of the tape, which was a bootleg video dealer from the Midwest, who would reward me the next time I saw him with a beer over my head. After a grueling, nerve-wracking, hour-long interview, I convinced the FBI that this film was in fact a fake. Months later, a story broke in the media that Charlie Sheen was to receive a letter of commendation as a good citizen from the FBI. This story broke in the newspaper and the news magazines and all 4 news channels. It was the early 90s. There weren't that many channels. The story mentioned a VHS snuff film obtained from a bootlegger that Charlie had turned in. This time I was pleased that my name did not appear. And as one of the few people to make Charlie Sheen look good, I guess I should feel some sense of accomplishment. There's no moral to the story, except the one that comes to mind with each lesson that I learned on this job. I'm an idiot.
Fabulous.
Wow, this is amazing. This is like a Charlie Sheen story before Charlie Sheen was really on the asshole radar.
I know a lot of you are probably going to ask, and I will answer the obvious question. Yes, that's an absolutely true story. That happened in the early stages of Film Threat, back when it was a fanzine in Detroit. I think it was issue number 11. which has an image of Alfred Hitchcock being hung to death on the cover. But I've been working actually for the last couple of years on a book about film threat, my early experiences, and there are celebrities that pop here and there, and it's not some gossipy tell-all type of thing. If anybody looks bad in the book, it's me pretty much consistently, because I'm always learning a lesson, but after it's too late, by just making stupid decisions and stupid choices. So, but a lot of those stupid choices end up being the source of entertainment, like the rest of this podcast. So let's get back to Storyworthy. Here it is. Exactly. I mean, he had done Platoon, and he'd done some really amazing work.
Oh, he had proved
Yeah.
himself as an actor. But I mean, before he started, I don't know if it's
it's not so much. This is more the crazy radar, I think.
I see.
They like not being able to, not living in reality because you're drunk or high all the time. Like watching some stupid Japanese horror film and thinking, this is real. Only a really high person would.
Right, he must have been high because, I mean, it's one of those things where they're trying to make a fake snuff film.
Right.
And I'm not a fan of this. I'm a fan of that type of genre. I mean, I don't like the torture porn that they make
Well, that's good to hear, because I'll be honest with you, Chris. I don't know if we would have had you on
exactly.
here if Sean had opened up with Chris Gore, fan of snuff films.
Well, I did pitch a couple other stories to you guys that I could have told. I think this was probably the lightest.
I love this story. Are you kidding me?
Really?
You say you talked to John Hinckley. I almost lost my mind. I was so excited. And
he has an address. You could write to him, too.
What prison is he in?
You know what? I don't even remember. This was about 1987.
Did he have a voice like you were
1988.
saying, or were you making that voice up?
No, I was just making that voice up.
Because
I was so that you could tell the difference. So that it sounded really cool.
Yeah, your voice is who? I'll tell you right now.
Who's my voice?
Danny Bonaducci.
I'm Danny Bonaducci.
No,
Well,
you're
there you go.
not. You're not a redhead.
You're wearing
you have
pants.
natural silver hair.
Yes,
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's a salt and peppery pile of delicious.
That's
what
exactly
I
right. You go to
prefer refer it as.
storyworthypodcast.com, and right there, you
You'll
won't
see a
see Chris
photo.
Gore's picture. No, I told you, dude. They didn't submit that
Well,
yet.
yeah, but we
I'll
just
get
took
you
some pictures.
I'm not going to put the bloody picture on. Tell me about that.
I had on G4 TV on X-Play and or Attack of the Show. We sometimes do comedy bits, and for one of the comedy bits, I was to be ripped apart and eaten alive by a werewolf, and so I was covered in blood.
Nothing funnier.
Hilarious. So I spent all night at this shoot, and the end of the shoot, I was covered in blood, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny to get a picture covered in blood?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
did. No. Yeah, I think you sent me a Facebook friend request, which I
ignored.
I accepted it.
You did?
Yeah, just before I came over here.
That's really cool, man.
And I didn't connect. I did the thing I always do on Facebook, which is if I see a hot girl request that she be my friend, I just click yes, not really caring whether or not I actually know her.
Now, here's what's a little disturbing here, folks, is that my Facebook page is of me when I was 3. So that's disturbing, but I think that Chris Gore,
Well, at least you weren't covered in blood.
The actual
That's
picture,
right.
no, it's, I think it's your headshot. It's got to be your headshot.
Let me ask you this.
Smoking hot picture, I got to say.
Let me ask you this. Did he really mention Squeaky Fromm?
Yes, well, yeah, it's in the letter. I mean,
I know,
it's in
but
the
did
letter
he really did?
He did mention Squeaky Fromm. He started
Isn't that
corresponding with
interesting?
Squeaky Fromm.
I mean, it almost seems like that's... And
It's
then
like a club. It's like a club. There would be a Facebook. If they had Facebook in prison, they would have groups dedicated to people who've tried to assassinate presidents.
So it could be this the serial killer book.
That sounds like a Stephen Sondheim musical. Oh, wait, it is.
Right.
All right, here's...
Right.
By the way, can I just say I'm on Chris Gore's website, and
Yes.
right here, I really like this. I don't know even where this is from. Chris Gore's #1 guilty movie pleasure, Schindler's List for the nudity.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. I was on another podcast called it was the Film Vault, and we were
Yes.
talking about top 5 guilty movie pleasures.
Yes.
My #1 was Schindler's List because, and let me just say that it's the only time network television history where full frontal nudity has actually been on TV. There's a big
Wait,
disclaimer.
What about My Beautiful Life? That one, that Italian one, when the guy
They didn't
Roberto
show
Benigni.
that
Not on network
American.
television.
No, they didn't show it on edited.
Okay, I just
Network
remember some
television.
frontal nudity. I remember that in the movie.
Yes. Well,
there's
look,
nudity in all of those movies about the
Concentration camp
about
nudity.
we could
It's
talk about
CCN.
concentration camp nudity like all day.
Yeah.
But that one was it was distinct because it was just so shocking, first of all, with limited commercial interruption.
I like
We'll be
that.
showing Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. Also, lots of nudity.
Yeah.
Which-
It's a very
When you were a
special...
kid and they gave you those little warnings at the beginning
Right,
of
you
TV
knew
shows,
it was good.
you never.
I just
They
thought
did
of
that
two
on
things.
Roots. They did that on Roots.
Right.
God, I love that movie.
You're going to watch a really pompous piece of crap. That was the Roots one. Now, two things. First of all, I remember when I was probably about 13, for some reason on the 5 o'clock local news in Milwaukee, they did showing women how to do a breast exam completely live and breastful.
Yeah.
And but it was like in real time in the studio.
I understand.
And I'm like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm looking at boobs on TV. My head's going to explode.
Okay. Do you remember the movie Office Space?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what the guy was watching in his side of the condo. He kept watching breast exams on television. You remember that?
Oh,
and he
no,
invited
I
his
forgot
buddy
that
over.
part.
Come on, you know the movies.
You can always get away with anything nudity when it comes to medical. You can say words like penis, vagina. It's not as sexy as the other words for those. Yeah, this was the age where when you saw that little warning that was at the beginning of a TV show, you did not tune away. That was one of those things where you wanted to close the door, make sure that no one could pop in unannounced, dim the lights, and get ready for possible side boob. But that was rare, and these days now, with 2 clicks, you can see anything on the internet. Any sex act is 2 clicks away from the eyeballs of anyone. So, and I'm not complaining. I think that technology provides us a great way to waste a lot of time these days. But back in that day, it was literally like being a California miner going through the pan and shaking it, trying to find that one little gold piece of, oh, I see part of a butt. Oh, I'm shaking the pan. Oh, I'm seeing gold. It's some boob. Oh, I'm shaking the pan again. Vagina. Which was weird being a kid, but what can you say? Anyways, back to story-worthy.
All right, let me just say this. Chris Gore, I think you're a lucky man that you always have been following your dream.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. Either that or I'm unemployable. That's pretty much where I...
that's true, but have you ever been a waiter?
You know what? I worked in restaurants when I was a teenager, but since I moved out to Los Angeles, I've never had... I've always had a job I pursued, or I just make up a job. Like, I think there should be a book about film festivals. There isn't one to help filmmakers. I'm tired of filmmakers I like not succeeding. I should just tell them what they can do to help them increase their chances. So I wrote that book, and sort of one job led to another.
It's refreshing, though, that now so many of these programs and softwares on a consumer level that we can do those things. Because, like, we have this podcast, and it's like, well, why do you have the podcast? You're not really making any money. Yeah, it's true, but if I say I want to do a podcast or I want my own television show, and then I can and I don't, well, maybe I really don't want my own show. Well, does that make sense?
I think that I take sort of a Zen approach to stuff. Like I don't care about, like, I've only auditioned a couple times, but I don't really go out for jobs. What I do is I
just crash podcasts.
I don't care, and I like to party and have fun and hang out, and then people see that when I meet them, and then I end up being the guy that doesn't have an agenda at the Hollywood party. My agenda is to have the most fun and or use up all of the fun in the room. And I end up being the fun guy that everyone wants to hang out with, and then they're like, we should work together someday. And I'm sure, yeah, whatever. You know, if it makes sense, cool. But,
ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
Okay, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do that. I'm going to suck the fun out of rooms.
I'll say, like, Film Threat, I never really made money on it. I mean, it was one of those things where it was always like a labor of love, and something was kind of giving back to the indie film community, so I never made money from it. However, I would say that every opportunity that came to me came from Film Threat. So by doing Film Threat for nothing, I got opportunities to write books, to do television shows.
Because
and I feel
it's preparedness meets the opportunity, and you can only get prepared if, in fact, you work and then you create your own work. And in fact, next thing you know, you're living the dream. You're crashing podcasts.
And I feel
you're not a whore at all.
That is the dream.
Podcasts are the same way. Like, a lot of people doing podcasts, it's like, well, you've seen podcasts go from a podcast to a television show. I mean, to me, Storyworthy of all the podcasts I've been on is so built to be a television show.
Ladies and gentlemen,
wow, so built to be a television show.
IFC calling you now? It's so...
Thank you, Chris Gore. Well, I think so too. Here's the tagline, Hannes. You know, I'm pitching the show around town now, and
the Shotgun Story, right? The game show version,
the game show podcast. It's a fast-paced game of truth. And what I say to the folks is, you may not sing and you may not dance, but you have a story, because everyone has a story.
coming up on IFC. But first,
I'm
the Addams
serious.
Family.
Now,
No,
I'm
serious.
excited about it.
It's
I'm
a
excited
great
about it.
concept
Thanks,
for a
man.
show.
Okay, Chris Gore, here's what I want to ask you.
Yes.
Recently, I was listening to you on another podcast.
You listen to me on. You know what? That's like it's very meta of you to do that. It's
Well, no, I prepare when I do guests. I'm really into it. Like, I enjoy it. I'm curious about people. I want to know who's coming into my home. I want to know who I'm talking to.
I have
like
no idea who
masturbation.
anyone is ever.
Oh, really?
And no, Hannes doesn't. But like I was just telling to that other guest that was here earlier, Hannes, Naomi, the good news about you is you don't prepare. You don't give a shit.
No,
But
I'm a reactor.
You
That's what
are
I do.
a reactor, and you play the part you're supposed to play, which is my. What are you? What are you?
Reactor?
My muse?
No.
My.
You're unorganized. Wow.
Jorge,
See, talking about lack of
Jorge is
organization,
over
you
here
would think I'd have an
mouthing
answer
words.
to this question.
Jorge is mouthing words. He's hissing between
What's the
his
word?
teeth.
Is he mouthing?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Motherfucker,
I just want to say this one thing. Here's what you
So
said.
mean.
Here's what you said on the podcast, and I had to pause it
no.
because I got a little like. You said you were with a girl, and you made a glazed donut.
No, I made her face into a glazed donut.
Okay,
Yeah.
you said that.
Which would be, some people say cum pirate. I prefer glazed donut. I think that's more polite.
All right, you guys, we're gonna have to wrap this up, but first, let's play Shotgun Story.
Okay, but
you want to play Shotgun
by the
Story
way,
Worthy?
before we do Shotgun Story, let me tell you this another quote off the Chris Gore page. This is directed directly at you, Christine. You're going to like this.
What did I
that
say?
Chris Gore, when drinking any beer other than Coors Light, this beer has too much taste. I hate Coors Light, and Christine drinks it like water.
well,
and
see,
what I
that's-
mean, it's
okay.
actually okay. I'm sorry.
Here's what I like.
Right now, she's drinking Tecate, the Coors Light of Mexico.
I like domestic light beer. I like to call it the all-day beer.
Yeah,
light
it is
beer.
an all-day beer. It's a breakfast beer, is what it is.
It's a breakfast beer. You can drink it all day, and it
Yes,
doesn't,
that's right.
doesn't affect you that much.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. See? Plus,
What are you saying? We have something in common?
yes, I am saying
I
yes,
don't
I'm
think
I
so.
like,
You
I
love
like, I like,
Coors
we
Light.
like light beer.
You want to play this
Like
game
cheap
or
beer.
not?
Yes,
All
I'll
right.
play the game.
All right, here we go.
So
Play
we're
the
going to
game.
spin the story-worthy wheel of truth, and then you will tell us a 1-minute true story.
Oh, this is exciting.
Went past drunk tank into passport.
Okay, I have a passport, but I am one of the luckiest men alive with a passport because of this very fact. Many countries have instituted a rule where you are you're not supposed to smile in your passport photograph. I was able to get my headshot onto my passport.
Yes.
I was in a rush to get to the Cannes Film Festival. This was in the 90s. I rushed my passport in, and because I paid the additional rush fee, which is about $65, I was able to send them my passport. And look, I'm not gay or anything, but when I look at that passport, I would fuck the shit out of me. That's how hot this passport photo is. And I have the most beautiful smile on this passport. Sent it in, thinking maybe there's no hope I'm actually going to get this through. It got through because of the rush fee. And now everywhere I travel, when I go to other countries, they look at the passport and they think I'm a movie star.
Oh, man.
Fantastic.
See, isn't that funny,
right.
honest?
Now that is
That's actually true, though.
that is illustrating your point.
I can't tell
Exactly
every time.
illustrating my point. But wait,
Right.
Chris
Okay.
Gore.
Every time I show my passport, people look and they go, "Do you work in the movies?" Because I have just this like no one
Like
has.
a
All their passport photos are the worst. Yeah.
like a ding in
yeah,
your eye.
you can hear it makes that sound of the.
But isn't this interesting? Chris Gore just gave a great illustration on how people don't think they have a story.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
And then he
was
wraps
like,
it up.
No, I want to
My
tell the
drunk
drunk tank
tank
story.
story was so good though.
doesn't matter.
You know
I
what?
don't wanna
I
hear
don't
that.
think so. I
I'm
think
not
that
interested.
Your headshot on a passport is an awesome story.
It was awesome drunk tank story.
I'm not interested. What I
All right,
want to
all right.
know is about this passport. And what's funny is most people go to a foreign country, don't they, Hannes?
They do.
He didn't. He went the literal sense. He went the actual booklet. You know what I'm saying?
Actual passport.
To the actual
That's what I'm
passport.
saying.
Yeah.
So, and you are a citizen of this country?
Yes,
I
I'm a
just
citizen
wanna-
of the United States.
I'd just like
But
to be
it's
clear.
especially like having used that passport in Germany, I would always get comments because it is illegal to smile in
That's
a passport
very
photo in
interesting.
Germany.
That's just
But
too
that's-
stereotypical, even for the
No, I
Germans.
truly didn't know that. I
It's
didn't know
supposed
that.
to be. It's supposed to be related to police work. It's easier to identify someone if they're not smiling. You can sort
Right.
of change your face when you smile.
Right.
So by not smiling in the
That's
photograph, it's easier
hilarious.
for identification. So what's interesting about that story-worthy segment is they have this giant wheel where they spin different subjects around the wheel. You'll see things like vacation, mom, passport, drunk tank. It was on drunk tank and then just barely inched over and hit passport, which I don't know. I don't think my story about Passport was particularly interesting, but my drunk tank story was really interesting. So I'll relate it to you now real simply. I'm 19 years old. I'm going to this punk rock club in Detroit called Todd's, which actually has a Facebook fan page, and I post there often. But I would go to this club called Todd's. I'm 19 years old. I've got this haircut that looks like out of Flock of Seagulls. Like half my head is shaved and the hair is sort of all swooped where you can't see one eye. And I still have my driver's license that has that hairstyle. Anyways, me and my buddy Stefan Hoffman at the time, we were driving up to Todd's. And we were going there, and we had stopped by a place in Detroit, this liquor store, and we knew if we went to sort of a bad area in Detroit, we could get liquor. We could actually get beer, even without a driver's license and even without proper identification saying we were over 21. So we stopped by this liquor store, and I remember exactly the brand of the beer. It was Big Jug Beer. It was a giant thing. It was like one of those big liter size, that you get at Pepsi or Coke. It's of beer, and it was Big Jug Beer. We got 2 of those. And we were driving to Todd's, which is near like 8 Mile in Detroit. And anyone who knows that area, not the best area of the city, but whatever. This is where Todd's was. We're driving there, and pulling up next to us is this beat-up Chevrolet next to my car with a bunch of dudes with baseball bats. Absolutely true. These dudes had baseball bats, and Stefan and I were freaked out. We're like, holy crap, like these are a bunch of white trash assholes looking to beat up some punks. Like we thought we were gonna die. This is insane. And we got in a high-speed chase with these guys, these white dudes with baseball bats. It was nuts. I'm driving high speed through the city of Detroit near Todd's. And then I thought to myself, ding, pops into my head, hey, wait, if we just pull up to Todd's, the bouncers at the bar know us. They're actually going to come out and protect us from these white trash jagoffs with baseball bats. They're gonna save our lives. So we pull up to Todd's. I mean, like we pull into the parking lot like Starsky and Hutch style. Stop the car. Get out of the car. The security like walks up because they see there's some situation. The guys get out of their car and they pull out police identification. Throw me on the hood. They were undercover cops. Smash me on the hood. They're basically beating on my friend Stefan. And these are undercover cops. And here we are, underage, caught with alcohol. They take us downtown, and we sleep in a cell that smells like urine, I'm going to be honest. And Stefan, they came into the cell and actually punched him a couple times. That's me. I don't know. Maybe it was because I was wearing a sports coat. I looked almost, semi like a normal person, with the exception of my hair. So they take us downtown in the morning in a chain gang, and we get put into a larger cell where these dudes are like, and these guys are like, I mean, these are like hardened criminals saying things like, what are you in for? I'm here for rape, armed robbery, this. I mean, guys like saying, I shot a dude. It comes to us, and my friend Stefan and I say, yeah, we're here for possession of alcohol. The entire jail cell bursts out in laughter at our predicament. We're just 2 white dudes from the suburbs, got caught with beer in our car. I get up before the judge and I button my shirt up, I button my sports coat up, and I say, Judge, I would really appreciate if we could forget about this. I don't want it to mar my I'm in college right now and I'm studying pre-law, and I really hope that this wouldn't be held against me. Because the officers initially in our interaction with them did not identify themselves as police officers before this giant chase began, we basically were let go. So I did not get to tell that story on Storyworthy, but you get to enjoy it. And let's go back for the final segment of Storyworthy. Don't get in a high-speed chase in Detroit.
ladies and gentlemen,
funny.
we got to wrap
That is a
this
funny
up.
story. I like
know.
that.
We got to wrap this up.
I think that you could wear those bloody clothes. Forget Halloween. Just wear them and just out.
So foul.
This
truly.
This is something I enjoy doing. This is going to sound very strange. I'm going to tell you a strange thing about me that I know that improv comedy is huge in Los Angeles. You meet a lot of people involved in improv comedy. I think improv comedy is for pussies. I think that what you should do is just do improv real life. Like what I like to do is I'll go to a grocery store and spot a stranger trying to pick up a stick of butter. And I'll just say, and they will immediately stop what they're doing. It's something primal from being a kid when you heard the sound, people will stop. So what I like to do is I enjoy fucking with people. Yeah. And so what I'm doing is improv where people aren't aware, and maybe you can help me with this. I have lived with women. I've been with women. I have never, in my experience of being with a woman, ever found evidence that any of them ever pooped. How is that kept a secret?
It's not.
Is it?
Not in my house.
No, but like what I'm saying is that I've lived with women. I'm like, when do they poop only at work? When is there evidence of this ever occurring?
You're being naive.
Am I?
Yes.
All right. Maybe is there a stealth?
Food goes
what is
in
the method that you use then for
the rectum?
Right. I think that you use the standard method.
Recently on Oprah, and I didn't watch it, but I heard it. I don't know where I heard it, but they said that you should have an S-shaped soft poop.
S-shaped.
That's correct.
Huh. Interesting.
You know, my fiance makes me watch Dr. Oz.
You told me that. That's degrading, man. That's fucking degrading. She makes you
What's
watch
Dr.
that.
Oz?
She doesn't make me. Dr. Oz is a Turkish doctor guy with the biggest eyebrows in the world. Yeah. All the women want to fuck him. All the women watch his show. Anyhow, the point is that he was like, the way people poop you just squat down in real life. So our legs should be higher than your butt, which is actually true. But then he demonstrates squatting by squatting. And I'm like, well, now I'm thinking about Dr. Oz, the hairiest man in the world, pooping in the desert.
Hannes,
I didn't enjoy that image.
Right.
That's
Hannes,
what I'm saying.
Remember our old acting teacher, Brian Reese? He's not old, and we're not old, but we used to take this class, which was a while ago.
We're old, but
so
he's still young. I don't know how that works.
He's the greatest. But the point is, he used to say, if you have an option in an audition, stand up. Because what happens when you're in an audition and you sit down, you lean forward, and next thing they think is...
Yeah, you're on the toilet. You look exactly like you're on the toilet.
That's exactly right.
So never sit forward.
Stand.
I'm sorry to have derailed the podcast. This usually happens when I come on.
Well, wait,
Are you still here?
PodCrasher. You're a PodCrasher.
That's true.
Isn't this what you do?
Well, it's the premise for my show is that I'm too lazy to do a podcast.
I see.
So I just go on other people's podcasts, and then I use the audio from this podcast I put on my podcast.
Oh, please.
And then I put it in context. But what I'm also doing is I'm introducing my audience to other podcasts. And
you see how he slips that in? You know what that's called, Hannes?
What?
Humble brag.
Yeah, it's
a humble brag.
Is that
yes.
a humble brag?
That's it.
A little bit.
Hey, listen, you help me, I'll help you.
There's something in it for both of us. And
that's right.
And the thing is,
that something is a soft S-shaped poo.
Yes. I just don't want to be limited to only speaking about film or... I want to talk about...
You're funny. No, you're very interesting.
Sex,
you're super... Well, no.
Health.
Really.
Canoeing. So that's our show this week. I really want to thank Christine Blackburn and Hannes Phinney from Storyworthy. And you can find that podcast at storyworthypodcast.com or follow them on Twitter at Storyworthy. They even have a Facebook page. So look on Facebook. Just look up Storyworthy. And, of course, you can follow me at That Chris Gore on Twitter. You can follow the show at PodCRASH Show on Twitter. That was a great experience. I really did quite enjoy it. It allowed me the opportunity to talk about some things that I haven't really thought about in a long time. I really do. Like when I see all this stuff about Charlie Sheen in the news and whatnot, I think like I completely forgot about the fact that, oh, yes, by the way, remember that time I lent him that videotape, which ended up in a discussion with me and the FBI about a snuff film. It's a stupid story and something that I may recount in a little bit more detail in this upcoming book that I've been working on for far too long. But that's it for this week, and I really appreciate you guys listening. Give us a good review. Go to iTunes And you know, if you think we deserve 5 stars, click on the 5 stars and post a review. I do read them all, and I really appreciate the positive reviews. Those positive reviews are great. They help other people discover the show, and then by way of discovering my show, we'll discover other good shows like Storyworthy. So thank you so much for doing that. And as I am fond of saying every week at the end of every show, if you actually get to this end part, which this will go down in history as our shortest episode ever, unless I keep talking, I'm going to say, let's get out of here! If you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of person who stays through the end credits of a movie and looks at all the names. Hey, I know a guy named Dave Williams, as the name scrolls by on the screen. Well, for that, you shall be rewarded. If you send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, 90036, you shall be rewarded. You will get a gift in return. Something small, something that will be a token of my appreciation for listening to the end of the show, and I will thank you for it. Later.